Hi, listeners. You might notice that we're now operating under a different name and on YouTube as well, under the brand of the NFT Finance Podcast. And we also have a new logo. We've officially rebranded to the NFT Finance Podcast, sponsored by Goblin Sax, to show our identity as an all encompassing entity in the NFT finance and NFT infrastructure space. And we really hope to be the best conduit of information and a driver of the NFT financialization and infrastructure narrative well into the next cycle.
So, without further ado, welcome to the NFT Finance Podcast, sponsored by Goblin Sax. My name is Ryan. I'm going to be joined, as always, by my co-host Terry. And today, we welcome arentweall, the head of integrations at Goblin Sax, where he will be discussing Goblin Lend, a new Goblin Sax product. So, arentweall, welcome on. And I guess before we jump into Goblin Lend, maybe you can tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself, how you got into crypto and NFT specifically.
Yeah. Hey, Ryan, Terry, thanks for having me. I mean, this is my first podcast, so I'm really excited. So I've been around the crypto scene since 2017 and did a fair bit of degening, like last cycle as well. I think more recently, I guess, as DeFi, DAOs, and NFTs had like a revival, I started like doing full-time more crypto stuff and became like a full-time contributor at DAO House for the past year. So in the DAO world, that's where I met Ryan, and everything changed after that. These days I spend most of my time like looking after integrations at Goblin Sax, where the team and I basically look at BD, partnerships and how to work with other teams to drive this space forward. And I guess outside of crypto, my background is in product and startups in the payment space.
Yeah, and I know, since we've worked together quite a bit, maybe you can just give a quick background about your experience in payments and how it's helped you when working at Goblin Sax, and then also just a quick overview of why you decided to contribute at Goblin Sax.
Yeah. So my experience in payments, um, let's see. I basically helped like a big wallet and payment provider in Asia set up the business, starting everything from scratch, building up most of the functions, doing everything except for engineering, and expanded our business to more than 6 countries. So there's a lot to learn in the payment scene, a lot of complexities, a lot of different things to consider. And I think when we look at NFT finance, NFT lending, and Goblin Sax approach to working with partners, that's where I see a lot of relevance in the integration side of things, explaining like the SDKs, helping to shape the right integrations with our partners. I think that's where I see a lot of similarities. So what was the second question? Was it how I got started in crypto?
Yeah, I guess like what made you want to start working at Goblin Sax? Because I know
Goblin Sax.
you've obviously besides me, of course, right? Like I'm really the big draw, but I know you've worked in a number of DAOs. So like, what interested you about Goblin Sax specifically?
Yeah, I think like I started helping out in Goblin Sax quite early. It was like almost day one, but doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. What really drew me to the DAO was, I think there were quite a few reasons actually. I think the first one was when I first joined the community call, I realized that there were really a huge variety of people, and all of them were really smart. All of them were really like geeking out at a different um, part of NFT finance, and were really good at doing these things. So yeah, I thought I had a lot to learn from them. And as I did more and more stuff in the DAO, I learned a lot more about the space, about NFT finance, and I think that based on the things I've seen within and outside of the DAO, NFT finance is going to be really big, and that's why I thought this is something that I want to do. And I think the last part was that I think a few months ago, like with the DAO, we were trying to move from being an NFT lender to something bigger, something more scalable. I think that requires a lot of execution, and as we all know, all DAOs executing in DAOs is typically a very hard thing to do. So that sounded like a very interesting challenge And yeah, let's see whether we succeed in executing this time as a DAO.
You mentioned that one of the reasons you joined Goblin Sax was because you were bullish in NFT financialization. Why is that?
Yeah, I think that right now, when people think about NFT finance, what we can think of is really just JPEGs, Bored Ape pictures, and it really looks like a toy from the outside. And I think that's fine because it allows the NFT finance project to focus on getting things done and getting traction, without attracting too much like regulators and too much like oversight, right? But I think the technology of NFTs and the open state of NFTs enable a lot more interesting applications to be built on top of NFTs. So if you look at most, even in just lending, if you look at most traditional like lending models, people typically lend based on an asset as a collateral or promise of future revenue. So I think that a big part of lending will be kind of revolutionized by NFTs because, sorry, can we scratch that? Yeah. So basically, I think the ability for NFTs to encode a lot of metadata in an open state protocol will enable a lot more borrowing to happen in a more efficient manner. So even today, we start seeing more and more DeFi protocols using like ERC 721s, like your Uni V3 LPs. So for different kinds of borrowing, especially the kind that you borrow based on a promise of future revenue, you can better value the cash flows, the revenues of these assets. You can better collect these so-called collateral or promise of future revenue. And I think that once this technology catches on with things outside of JPEG, then NFT finance will really be a lot bigger than what it is today. There's a lot of assets, a lot of like businesses are all like non-fungible. Sorry about that vomit.
So I guess let's jump into Goblin Lend, right? So and I think to my understanding, this has not been announced. It hasn't been announced yet, and it will be probably announced by the time this podcast comes out. But aren't we all? If you could give just a quick Alice and Bob example of how Goblin Lend works and really what Goblin Lend is.
Yeah. So I guess in this scenario, there are three parties. There is Alice, who is a NFT holder. There is Bob, who is a community manager, and then there's Goblin Sax. So what Goblin Lend does is that it enables Bob, the community manager, to put a button on their website or platform. And Alice, as a user, can then click on that button and instantly borrow, get a loan on their NFT and borrow directly from Goblin Sax. So within a few clicks, Alice, the user, gets the ETH in her wallet, and then the NFT is in escrow and on loan. Yeah, that's how it works.
So basically, it's an instant loan, more or less. Yep. Is that? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And then I guess like what about settlement? So is this like how does settlement occur? And is, to my understanding, is this like abstracted away from peer to peer?
Yep. So basically, I think these days, okay, yeah. So for settlement wise, we use NFTFi, where when the user clicks a button, a series of steps happen, and one of these steps is that your NFT gets transferred to the NFTFi contract, and then the ETH gets sent to your account. So all settlement happens on NFTFi, and I think it's pretty safe because it's already the leading protocol in NFT lending. Smart contracts are quite battle tested, And as a user, because you are borrowing directly from us through the NFT contracts, there is no need to list your just no need to list your NFT on the marketplace. There's no need to wait for offers. You just get everything settled instantly to us.
So settlements. So like I guess like the base settlement still occurs on the NFTFi contracts.
Yep.
Okay. Right. And then like what about like liquidity provisioning? How does that occur? And then which assets does Goblin Lend support?
Yeah. So for Goblin Sax, I think as most listeners would know, we have basically raised liquidity from the community and some other partners. So we have around like 1,000 plus ETH in our management. So we as Goblin Sax can provide this liquidity to basically take whatever loans that I guess communities and NFT holders would want to borrow against. So we actually have a list of whitelisted collections. It is quite long, so I shall list some of the notable ones and some of the more interesting ones. So we have your typical like Bored Apes. You have your CryptoPunks, Doodles, uh, Fidenzas. Those are the ones that are quite common, announced as well. And then I think the ones that are a bit more interesting are like your crypto dick butts, your cyberkongs, cool cat, cyber brokers. So we have a long list. On our new website, loans.goblinsax.xyz, you will be able to see the list. But that we have like around like 10 to 20 assets, and the assets get updated quite frequently by our portfolio management team.
Cool. Yeah, I always love saying crypto dick butts. Forever a crypto dick butt bull.
Yeah.
So within the like the whitelist, I guess that's determined internally by Goblin Sax, and that is what's displayed on Goblin Lend.
Yep. Yeah. So when you connect your wallet on Goblin Lend, which is loans.goblinsax.xyz, you will be able to see the NFTs your NFTs that are eligible, as well as the whitelist of assets there. If you have an NFT and you don't see it on the whitelist, you can jump on our Discord and then let us know.
Cool. And then as far as like so with this product, I understand like so maybe take a step back. What do we think like the go to market is for Goblin Lend? Because I know you're doing some interesting work on the integration side around targeting NFT communities. Like, what are some of the capabilities that like Goblin Lend enables for a traditional like project or NFT community?
Right. So from a go to market point of view, this product is actually quite new in the space, and since we're dealing with like I guess more expensive and blue chip NFTs, we are taking a very careful approach to work with a few premier NFT DAOs and communities to figure out what's the model that works. So we are actually working with one big NFT DAO. I mean, hopefully we have good news to share in a month or so. But we're trying to like create a model that works for them. And what this model includes, and that is, I guess, answering the capability side of things, is by working with Goblin Lend, the NFT project will be able to get a few things. And these are the things that Goblin Sax have been week on week, trying to optimize to make sure that we become better lenders in NFT finance. So if you work with Goblin Lend, you can integrate with us through an SDK or use our new Goblin Lend interface. Through the SDK or the interface, you will be able to get a few things. The first pillar would be a asset valuation pillar, right? Where through our past collection of data, our asset valuation frameworks, we will first price the asset for the loan, right? So you can think about it as a step-by-step process. You first price the asset, and that's the asset valuation pillar. The next step after valuing the assets will be then making the decision on whether to borrow or not. So we have a whole like liquidity management and loans execution pillar there as well. Basically, it's a whole infrastructure for us to host the funds, execute the loans based on some parameters. And then the third part will be, of course, the integration to the loan execution layer, which is NFT Fi. The last part would then be for Goblin Lend to help enable the NFT project to create the interfaces and experience they want. So we know that all NFT projects have their own like vibe, their own culture. So that's why we have like an SDK if you want a native integration, or you can just use our interface. So through these four pillars, we were basically trying to productize and create a lending as a service kind of solution for NFT projects to quickly kickstart lending for their users.
So if I'm a NFT project, I could effectively create like would Goblin Lend or Goblin Sax be interested in doing a custom type strategy?
Yeah, I think every community has different needs. Every community will eventually have their own strategy and thoughts about how lending should happen. So because we are providing lending as a service, we will be very happy to help enable whatever strategy that a community wants to do. Yeah.
And I know Goblin Lend has its own interface, but is Goblin Sax like in a position to, I guess, do like kind of like a bespoke, like interface for communities and partners?
Yeah, I think in the long run, of course, as any like tech company would want, we will want things to be more like off the shelf and productized. But we know that in the NFT space, I think the first thing is that we're really early. The second thing is that every NFT project is different. And they have like different approaches to hosting their communities on different platforms and stuff like that. So yeah, we will be happy to do anything bespoke for NFT communities, especially in the short run.
And is there any type of like from like an integrations like perspective, is there anyone that you like see as being interesting to partner with? Even outside of like an NFT communities, is there any other type of like product that or project that can use this product?
Yeah. So I think, of course, the first group will be NFT communities. It could be like DAOs that are formed, like NFT holder DAOs that are formed, or the project themselves. So I think the reason is why we think there is a good fit is because basically holders want to of course defend the floor price, reduce sell pressure, but at the same time they want liquidity, and it is a very hard bear market that we're in. So the need is real. I think from project side of things, they want to engage the community, provide utility, drive engagement, of course get some trading volume, but it's a bear market. So is there a way for them to do it sustainably? That is a very important consideration. So we think that because there is the need on both sides for liquidity, one side to borrow and earn revenue, and one side to get liquidity and defend the floor price, Goblin Lend is a great fit. So I think that's the first group, all the NFT communities and projects. I think the second group would be NFT platforms, dashboard tools, where you have launched the product for quite some time. You have some users that are tracking the NFTs. They're using your platform to get information, to get data, connecting their wallets. But it's at a point in time of the product lifecycle where you're trying to add more value to the user, beyond just viewing and accessing stuff on the platform, and at the same time looking for revenue so that the NFT tool continues to to live. So I think for this group of NFT tools, it will be if you already have like users connecting to your wallets, using your platform every day, why not, bring them the next step, which is that bring them to the next step, which is that, hey, you can actually realize some liquidity on these assets, take a loan through this button. I think this has a lot of sense for NFT platforms as well, because it's a good way to extend the user journey, especially if you have a lot of blue chip holders. And also, it's a great way for you to earn additional revenue in a bear market that it's tough for everyone in the space.
Makes sense. So I guess to kind of like close it out, what are the best ways to get in touch? I guess like with the integrations team, how does any of the listeners get involved with Goblin Sax or Goblin Lend specifically? Is there a best way to do that?
Yeah, I think that if you're an NFT project or platform that wants to kickstart your kind of lending business, you can always DM us at our Twitter handle, which is Goblin Sax, I believe. And you can always DM myself, which is arentweall and a number 0 at the back. But if you're looking to contribute, then I think you can just straight away jump into our Discord and just start letting us know what you want to do, like what are we doing wrong. I think that's the best way for contributions to begin.
Awesome. So aren't we all really appreciate the time today? Listeners,
thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, of course. And listeners, go check out Goblin Lend, which is loans.goblinsax.xyz. And you can follow Goblin Sax and get in touch with the integrations team directly through Twitter, which is @Goblin Sax.